Drogheda, 8 p.m. on a summer's evening. Martin and Andy have been working together for years and have come across many unusual cases in their time. But this next incident confuses even them.
A member of the public brought it to our attention that there was no number plate on the back of the vehicle. We stopped the vehicle and found that there was a litany of problems with the van.
There's no reg plate on the back of your vehicle.
I know this.
You do? The back. You've no brake lights or either?
Brake lights, yeah. It's just Uncle Sam just out the shop.
The driver was very nervous when he was speaking to us, so we did a check on the vehicle.
His back is a white Transit. I got my bag of the blue one. You check the chassis number.
Andy has checked with both the Garda and PSNI databases. The reg plate on this blue truck has come back as the reg plate for a white truck.
Now, alarm bell started ringing straight away because it came back as a white van instead of a blue van, which we had stopped. So the secondary means of checking would be through the chassis number. So again, we ran another check on that, and the chassis number didn't match up. So immediately, the alarm bell started ringing.
The chassis number on the van also doesn't match the registration number on the front, so the plates are false. A very serious offence.
There was a question there whether the van was stolen or it was being used in crime. If it's involved in a crime and a witness to the crime gives you a reg number of the offending vehicle and you do a check on it, it comes back blank or comes back to another vehicle.
Yeah. Right, the situation is the vehicle's been seized. Whether you are walking away is to be answered. Right? Because you're driving a vehicle and until we establish whether it's stolen or not, you won't be going anywhere. Alright?
Martin decides to impound the van and get to the bottom of why the driver has put the wrong plates on.
Now, what his explanation for the incident was, he was going to the shop, there was no number plates on the van, so he thought he put one number plate that he found on the site onto the van, and he thought that'd cover him.
I only got it for to go to the shop, right? You're a bit nervous, are you? Huh? You're a bit nervous.
We thought on the night, if he had had major criminal intent, that he would have got the plates of a similar vehicle, so it would have matched up, that when we ran the check, it would have come back as a blue Ford Transit. The fact that he had quite fairly admitted he took it off his uncle's, it turns out to be a white Ford Transit. We kind of thought, well, it's more foolish more than sinister.
But there's another problem. He doesn't have a driving licence with him. They decide to let him go on condition he brings his licence and DOE cert to the station later.
So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for you to walk away, get your driving licence and down to the station. Alright? He's heading off, getting his driving licence. Whether he turns up or not, it's another thing. He has an address out of jurisdiction, but sure, we'll see in another hour, as he says he'll be back.
The driver didn't show that night, but the next morning came down to the station with his licence and insurance and gave a statement.
As I say, you're not arrested, but I will be taking a caution statement off you. You're happy enough with that? He made a caution statement. He was charged to the following week to appear in Drogheda District Court.
The driver turned up in court the first day, but failed to appear at a later sitting. Coming up, a van runs out of diesel on the M50.
There's a backlog cause here already because you're stuck on the motorway.
And in Donegal, a fatal road crash.
We're only after arriving here. What's the situation here?
In Letterkenny, Garda Charlene Anderson and Sergeant Jerry Burke have just seen a car making handbrake turns. They've caught up with the driver, but he denies it was him.
Listen to me. Listen to me. We're dealing with you for a
Having
second.
first denied that he was driving the car, this young driver now argues with the guards.
I looked over. I could see a car stationary in a car park. I could see smoke coming from the back wheels of the car. I then watched the driver pull a number of handbrake turns, so I went over and spoke to the driver. Now, when you were over there and you were doing your spinning your wheels and all your mess in there, I was across the road looking over at you, okay? So in relation to that, I'm going to be giving you penalty points and a fine. He was driving on a provisional licence, yet he had no L plates displayed. He had no fully licensed driver with him. And when we pointed these matters out to him, he was extremely confrontational with us. No L plates displayed. Your L plates in the back, front and rear.
I only got them, were you well ago?
You should listen to me.
I never drove a
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Well, I drove it down there.
Yeah, exactly. And they're supposed to be on every time you
Your
drive.
plate should be on the back.
Doesn't matter, it's still a public place.
This particular car is a typical boy racer car. It was a souped up car with exhaust and illegal number plates. It had the typical sun visor strip halfway down the windscreen. The driver and passenger seats pulled right back, so the driver would nearly practically be driving on the ground as opposed to in an upright position. Now, your sun strip, here, this, illegal. You shouldn't have them.
That's allowed, is it not?
It's not. No, it's
No,
not allowed.
they're not allowed.
I was told it was like.
Listen to me, they're not allowed. So we're going to have to ask you to remove it. Okay? When they're in front of their friends, they want to show off. And as a result, their showing off tactics can get them into serious trouble with ourselves. And they do come to our attention as a result of their driving, and generally it's down to showing off in front of their friends. I've already spoken to you about it. I'm not going back on what I said, okay? You're very lucky that you're not being arrested for dangerous driving, okay? We're not out there to try and spoil anybody's fun. We're just hoping that they get the message just to slow down and look at their own safety, and indeed other people that are travelling or using the roads. And unfortunately, if they don't, then there is consequences. You're a young fella starting off. You don't need this. And you're bringing attention to yourself, and you've nobody to blame but yourself. Bit of cop on, all right?
This driver had been making handbrake turns at speed in front of other drivers watching from their parked cars. He got 2 penalty points and an €80 fine. On the M50...